Journeys Ahead, Aurora Legends, Act 2 Finale, Hero, written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. June 15th, 2018, 5:50 p.m. It had been a good couple of weeks since Voyd and Jaida's last major skirmish. The soft glow of the setting sun painted the walls of their shared room in warm hues. Voyd lay nestled against Jaida, the comfortable weight of her arm a reassuring presence around him. Jaida peppered his face with light kisses, each one a tiny spark of affection. He returned them eagerly, hands finding their way into her soft waves of glowing orange hair. Mwah! Jaida murmured, pulling back slightly, her hair messy, face orange with glee. You know, crime's been suspiciously quiet lately, hasn't it? To her words, Voyd sighed contentiously, appreciating the rare moment of peace. Yeah, it's almost boring, to be honest. He chuckled. I've actually been so bored, I don't know what to do with myself. Jaida shifted closer, her breath warm against his barely noticeable earhole. Well, I know one thing you're going to be doing soon. Turning the big 1-6. Voyd stilled. Wow, he said, genuinely surprised. You remember when my birthday is? Jaida raised an eyebrow playfully. Of course I remember, silly. July 15th. I have a good memory. Plus, she added with a mischievous grin, mine's only a week before yours. The celebrations are practically joint. Voyd laughed, relieved. Birthday, he thought. He hadn't had one in 5 straight years. July 15th. Knowing that Jaida remembered and was even excited about it warmed him on the inside, something he had longed to feel again after so long. He pulled her closer, intent on picking up where they had left off, burying his face in her hair. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out then. Maybe... Before he could finish the sentence, a shrill, panicked voice erupted from Voyd's other helmet that was resting upon a table in the corner of the room.
Blue Bullet! Cosmic Angel! We have a problem!
The voice called, making them both sit upright.
I'm being attacked in Notorious Industries lab sector. I need help! It's at the bottom floor! I need help!
It was Raymond. Raymond Notorio. But what the? Voyd asked as he and Jaida leapt out of the bed and ran towards the helmet. Raymond? Hey! The spark yelled as he put the helmet on. Raymond! Silence. Static silence. Blue! What if it's the Morphle Mafia? Jaida asked, shaking his shoulder. Oh no. He muttered before feeling his pocket and saying, Stealth on. Immediately, the new armor folded over his body, gleaming powerfully in the light. Nodding, Jaida too suited up, her armor reflecting the same obsidian shine. So much for being bored, she said as Voyd opened a portal to the facility. Let's move, he cried as they both leapt in without hesitation. The shimmering upside-down triangle portal spat both Voyd and Jaida out into the echoing lobby of Notorious Industries. Dust danced in the faint light, filtering through the massive windows, illuminating an unnerving emptiness. There was no receptionist, no security guard, not even the low hum of machinery that usually accompanied such technology. Silence, thick and heavy, blanketed the room. Voyd, ever vigilant, kept his hands readied, prepared to unleash a Nova Rune at a moment's notice. Jaida also scanned the room, her brow furrowed from behind the helmet. Voyd, something's off. I can feel it. she muttered, her voice barely audible in the oppressive silence. "Where is everyone?" the Spark asked as he did a full 360 view of the room. Ignoring the unnerving quiet, they pressed on towards the bank of the elevators lining the wall. Swiftly, Voyd tapped the call button repeatedly, his impatience growing with each passing second. Finally, with a groan of protesting gears, one of the doors slid open. Inside, the elevator was just as sterile and lifeless as the lobby. Jaida reached out and punched the button for the lowest level, for Raymond exclaimed to do as such. As the elevator lurched into motion, descending into the depths of the building, a growing uneasiness settled over them. The descent was slow, agonizingly so. Each floor they passed was marked by a faint, nearly imperceptible tremor. With nothing else to do, Jaida and Voyd exchanged nervous glances. "This doesn't feel right," Voyd murmured, his voice laced with uncertainty. Jaida nodded, grimly in agreement. She could feel it too, a subtle wrongness that prickled at her skin and tightened her stomach. The air was thick with a sense of foreboding, like walking into the eye of a storm. Finally, with a soft ding, the elevator suddenly shifted to a halt. The doors creaked open, revealing a long, narrow hallway behind an eerily green light. The walls were made of dark, almost obsidian-like material, slick and reflecting the sickly light back into their faces. The only illumination that came was from a series of recessed green lights spaced evenly along the ceiling, casting long, distorted shadows that danced and swayed in their peripheral vision. "What the hell?" Jaida asked. The corridor stretched out before them, an oppressive tunnel of the unknown. At the end, barely visible in the dim light, a massive door loomed, its surface mechanical and riveted. Without a word, Voyd and Jaida stepped out of the elevator and into the unsettling green glow. "Well, this is creepy," Jaida whispered as they cautiously advanced down the hallway. The air grew colder, heavier. A low hum, deeper and more resonant than anything they had heard upstairs, vibrated through the floor, tickling their feet. Reaching the end of the corridor, they stood before the colossal door, its size dwarfing them both. With a soft hiss, the door began to slide and shift open, revealing something that had them halting in stock, still stances. Gone was the sterile, green anonymity they had come to expect from this place of supposed horrors. This was a cathedral of technology, a vibrant, pulsating spectacle that painted the chamber in an ethereal blue and white light. The sheer scale of what they now knew to be a lab was overwhelming. It dwarfed them, making them feel insignificant in the face of such monumental engineering. Their eyes darted around, struggling to take it all in. Before them, occupying the heart of the room, was a colossal circular platform. It stretched out like a metallic racetrack, with a low rhythmic hum. Steel and concrete gave way to a smooth, polished surface, reflecting the intense light in a dizzying dance of illumination. But the platform was just a prelude to the true masterpiece. Centered within its orbit, a towering pillar of machinery pulsed with raw, untamed energy. The device was a monolith of polished metal and intricate wiring, crowned with a swirling vortex of vibrant blue electricity. The air around it cracked with an invisible force, raising the hairs on Jaida's arms and sending a shiver down Voyd's spine. Tubes snaked like metallic vines from the base of the pillar, disappearing into the dizzying heights of the lab ceiling. Following their path upwards, Voyd and Jaida were met with a chaotic ballet of gears and servos. The air thrummed with their mechanical symphony, a relentless whir and grind that spoke of immense power being generated and channeled. These weren't just machines. They were arteries, pumping power through the colossal device, feeding the electric storm raging within. Cables, thick as pythons, snaked across the ceiling, connecting more so into the pillar than anything else in the network. They throbbed with a visible intensity, carrying surges of energy that illuminated the lab with flickers of electric blue. Voyd and Jaida stood frozen, awestruck by the sheer audacity of what they were witnessing. It wasn't just a laboratory. It was a symphony of metal and energy that defied simple explanation. The air hung heavy with anticipation, a feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. What was this machine capable of? What secrets did it hold? And perhaps, more importantly, what was its purpose? The questions flooded their minds, leaving them speechless, captivated by the mesmerizing spectacle unfolding before them. It was then Voyd and Jaida saw it. Upon the machine was another platform, and there, connected into it, was D468 and Voyd's Nova Blade shard. It then hit him like 1,000 bricks. The blue energy. It was his energy. Spark essence. What the hell? Voyd asked, when at last, a figure approached from behind the machine's upper balcony, hands behind his back, and smiling in awe. Blue Bullet and Cosmic Angel, thank you for coming. The one who appeared had light grayish tan skin with pointed elf-like ears. They wore a dark green and black outfit with accents of bright lime green, which formed stripes and other technological elements along the seams and details. The jacket they wore was long, loose, a robe-like design with a collared top and a slightly mandarin neckline. The jacket appeared layered, with panels of different materials. Their pants were a deep, dark green shade too, with more lime green accents continuing on their modified padded boots. They were bald and wore large green goggles, topped off by what Voyd and Jaida realized to be lime green brain implants, lacing the person's head. At the man's side stood a small robot on a peg-leg wheel, with a dopey smile and suit-like design, carrying a coffee that it handed to the man. Mr. Notorio? Jaida asked as she and Voyd took a step forwards. Please, call me Dr. Notorio, the billionaire said, holding their breaths to his awful appearance. Voyd didn't know what to say. He didn't know what he was looking at. Raymond, what is this? It was all he could ask, shaken by the energy that surrounded him. Why, this is the key to the future, my boy, and the reason I brought you two here, so I can give my thanks for everything. Voyd and Jaida remained in place, not understanding what was going on. The key to what? What's going on? What is all this? Explain yourself! Voyd shouted, confused anger and fear filling his heart. Yeah, what is this machine? And why are you bald? Jaida added, making Voyd side glance at her. Oh, you vigilantes. You see, when I was a boy, I had always found my body and the human structure to be rather lacking. Raymond began as he looked to his gloved hands. It disgusts me, realizing just how fragile and weak we humans truly are. I began researching robotics and engineering to perhaps find a way to advance the human race into a brighter future. The big billionaire explained as he turned around and gazed upon his creation. I worked my way to the top, creating, inventing, even forming this company designed for bettering us, advancing us, the world. I had worked myself thin, doing all I could to change who we are, to fix our broken biology. Looking down, Raymond stared into his own reflection, frowning at his true form. It was only until the night of 1,000 flames, witnessing the scorched skin of my friends, and even my own family. That's where I truly began to dig deeper to fix what is broken from birth, the weakness and fragile nature of the human body. Slowly, Raymond turned back to face Voyd and Jaida, who were looking up in disbelief. For the last 5 years, I failed time and time again to crack the code. Then, like a prayer being answered, a long became you," Raymond stated, glaring directly at Voyd with his bright green goggles. "I've been keeping a close eye on you for the last few months, Blue Bullet. Studying you. Testing you," the doctor revealed, gesturing to the remnants of D468 that were infused into the machine. You were the one who made that machine! And the shark! Wasn't it?" Jaida boasted, as Voyd remained as still as a statue. "Indeed. I was also a big buyer for the REM trade before you both snuffed that out," the doctor explained with a hand wave. "Not only that, the skirmish with Adrian was to simply gather the technical data from your suits. Unknown technology. That armor you're wearing? Simple data transfer," the doctor said, making Voyd and Jaida look down at themselves. "My shark was simply to retrieve your blood items. The doppelganger was simply a test run for a pure mechanism performance, as well as to distract the public from what we were doing with their funding money," Raymond revealed as he gripped the rail to his platform with tight knuckles. "It was also I who sent the hitman to the diner, all in hopes to gather more data of your fighting abilities. Your resistance, Bullet, it's absolutely remarkable. Perfect. A worthy template." To this, Voyd stomped forwards and shouted angrily, "What the hell was it all for then?" Smirking a delightful grin, Notorio raised his arms to the grand machine before himself with pride. "Why all this, Bullet? It was very clear to me that you are not human. Your biology is unlike anything I've seen before. Resistant, powerful, nearly indestructible. The perfect template for fixing the weak bodies we humans are cursed to bear." With a snicker, Notorio turned, looking back at his machine. "This device was funded by the Restoration Act, built by my own and fellow robots' hands. Your blade carries your unnatural DNA, an endless power source that is incredibly adapted with my machine's energy conductors," the mad scientist revealed, gesturing to the Nova Blade shard. "With this energy capsule, I have merged the clean remains of both REM shards and nanobots into a gas-like element, my very own virus, one I shall unleash upon the city. A virus with your adaptive energy mixed with your armor scans. It will reform the people of this world into the perfect organism. You." In disbelief, the duo continued to stare up at Raymond, who just went on. "For you see, once my virus is congested, the nanobots mixed with your adaptive energy will begin to reshape one's body, creating a humanoid version of whatever you are. When everyone is roboticized, I shall act as the hive mind for all," Raymond stated as his hands transformed in the gauntleted fist, seemingly showcasing he had already injected the virus into his costume. "And I will lead this world into a brand new, peaceful, single-minded future. An obedient and indestructible future." "You're bloody insane!" Jaida screamed as Voyd took one horrified step forwards. "So you did all that? You did all this so you can use my DNA to do that? What the hell is wrong with you?" the Spark exclaimed as Raymond's platform slowly began to rise with electrical barriers guarding him and Latte Bate. "I am perfectly sane. This device will soon reach the top of my building. Come daybreak, the virus will be sprayed from its nozzle and into the city. Oh, and don't bother coming after me. I've already spread the fake news to keep you both occupied." Immediately after those words, both Voyd and Jaida heard a ping on their phones. Opening their mask HUDs to see what was going on, both saw something that made them shudder. A fake image, one constructed from super advanced Notorious Industries AI, showing a false depiction of security camera footage of the Bullet and Angel violently beating up Raymond at his desk. The message was sent by Raymond's own social accounts to all media platforms, captioned, "Can't stop us now." A fake message acting as if one of the two had sent it, calling to bring the city down upon them, to crush them for yet another lie. A fake lie. Oh no. Voyd and Jaida said in unison, as Voyd's mask began to alert him that several police officers suddenly arriving outside. You! Voyd cried, but was suddenly zapped down by a green bolt of electricity from Raymond's mechanized hands. Have fun with my little distraction. Looking forward to seeing the city revolt against you for hurting its true star, its true hero. With that, Raymond disappeared into the roof, while Jaida helped Voyd stand. That psychopath! Voyd boasted, as he now tried to open a portal, finding it unavailable. The charges had been used up for that time, meaning new batteries were in check. Slowly, Voyd and Jaida looked at one another, as the feeling of panic began to engulf them both. The sound of police officers above could be heard, some of which taking the elevator. The world blurred in the streaks of neon and shadows, as Jaida's power ripped a hole in reality, spitting her and Voyd out onto a grimy rooftop. The roof asphalt scraped against Voyd's knees as he stumbled, Jaida right behind him, gasping for air. The air crackled with the leftover energy of their escape, a tangible buzz that only amplified in the shimmering panic. Below, the city was a cacophony of sound. Sirens wailed, their piercing cries echoing between the towering buildings like hunting dogs on a scent. Flashing red and blue lights painted frantic patterns on the brick steel northern side walls. Above, the thwack, 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 thwack of helicopter blades grew louder, closer, the spotlight of a news chopper cutting through the darkness, momentarily blinding them before sweeping onwards, probing the city like a vigilant eye. Shit! Jaida's voice was tight with fear, her fingers digging into Voyd's arm. Voyd didn't need to be told. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the sirens below. Oh no, no! He cried, realizing the photo was without a doubt breaking headlines. They were now seen as criminals, and had to get to a safe place, to exit back into their normal clothes, to escape. Turning, they began to sprint across rooftops, while Voyd began to rekindle his energy after the strike that had felt to drain him. He couldn't summon his wings, at least not yet. The city throbbed beneath them, a chaotic symphony of sirens and shouting muffled by the distance. Each footfall they made was precise, each jump a calculated risk. The crimson hues of the moon and the neon city lights casting distorted shadows that mirrored the uncertainty of their escape. Voyd, ignoring his fear, vaulted across a gap between buildings, landing with a soft thud on the opposite roof. His eyes stern and intent started back to Jaida, urging her onwards with a silent nod. Blue, how do you suppose we get out of this one? Jaida cried as a police chopper flew overhead, shining a spotlight down upon them. I don't know! Voyd bellowed back, as they continued to jump between roofs, believing this to be their best form of escape, away from the world below. On ground level, the flashing blue and red lights snaked through the streets, a relentless predator on the trail. The TV screens of the city presenting Mason, with anger roaring to the fake news that he had believed. The pursuit was now relentless, as the whole city knew of the photo. Left! Voyd yelled, his voice barely audible above the city's din. He scrambled towards the edge of the roof, his boots finding purchase on the crumbling brick. Jaida followed, her movements fluid and graceful, mirroring his lead. They moved as one, a seamless dance of desperation and survival, a twisted reflection of the night they had met upon rooftops. A helicopter searchlight cut through the twilight, briefly illuminating their figures again. Voyd cursed under his breath and pulled Jaida behind a ventilation shaft, their hearts pounding in unison. They were exposed, vulnerable, every shadow seemed to lengthen, every creak of the rooftop amplified. The helicopter passed, its mechanical whine fading into the distance. They waited, breathless, till the coast was clear. Then, with renewed urgency, they continued their flight. The cityscape stretched before them, a maze of rooftops offering both refuge and peril. They were most definitely fugitives now. Blue, take my hand! I'm gonna warp us out of here! Jaida bellowed as they began to near a large gap, one they had to warp across if they wished to escape. Turning, Voyd snagged Jaida's palm, and together they jumped. Upon doing so, they went soaring across the unbreakable gap. As they did, Jaida began to glow orange as per usual, a sign she was about to warp. They would make it, Voyd thought, return the Nox and get home safe and figure out a plan. Yet, as the trail of thought crossed Voyd's mind, an audible sound shot across the sky, a sound that exploded from the passing chopper. Before Voyd could register what he had heard, he watched in horror as Jaida was struck in the abdomen by a bullet. It was a sniper, one that a cop had fired from above. In horror, Voyd watched as Jaida's determination faded, being replaced with a painful numbness as the bullet cut through her. Notorio's stealth armor. It was flimsy, a lie. He knew what he was doing when designing them. They couldn't take bullets. Jaida! Voyd screamed in absolute dread as her warp finished, becoming a powerful surge that sent them from the city all the way to their shared room. The panic and stress had been so strong that the last place Jaida envisioned before blacking out was home. The stress induced the jump length. Crashing onto the floor, Voyd whirled around and looked upon his girlfriend. She lay limp, weakly breathing and bleeding out everywhere. Tearing off his fake helmet, Voyd threw it aside and tore Jaida's away as well. Freckles! Freckles! Voyd screamed as he looked at the bullet wound on her side, one too big and too lethal for him to fix on his own. Jaida then started to twitch, her breathing shaking, her blood staining the spark's hands as he began to lose control. Knock! Knock! Voyd howled as he tried to apply his spark essence to the wound. Within moments, he could hear the rapid footsteps coming up the stairs, but didn't stop the fact that Voyd went from shouting names to just unleashing primal screams of dread and fear. Jaida was dying. It had all happened so fast. Knock, cot, everyone screaming. The ambulance showing up, the ride to the hospital, all up till Jaida was stabilized in her own private room. The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, doing little to mask the underlying metallic tang of blood. Jaida lay pale and still against the white hospital sheets, a network of tubes and wires snaking around her fragile frame. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound that testified to her continued existence, a sound that both offered comfort and amplified the terror that clawed at the edges of the room. Knock sat hunched in a chair beside the bed. His face was buried in one hand, silent tears racking his body. His other hand's fingers were intertwined with Jaida's, clinging to her as if he could physically pull her back from the brink. Each beep of the monitor felt like a countdown, a ticking clock counting to a future he couldn't bear to imagine. At Jaida's feet, Poffy rested as a crumpled heap of misery. Across the room, Voyd sat beside Cot, back in a normal attire. His posture was rigid, his face a mask of suppressed dread. He felt numb, disconnected from the scene unfolding around him. Jaida, his Jaida, was lying there, fighting for her life, and he felt utterly powerless, feeling the same way he felt upon losing his parents, dreading, fearing history was about to repeat in some sick, twisted form of fate. Cot sat with a hand on Voyd's back, offering silent support. But Voyd felt like he was drowning, the comforting touch offering no respite from the overwhelming sorrow that threatened to consume him. The door creaked open, and a nurse entered, a bullhorn, her face etched with professional concern. She carried a clipboard, her hands measured and quiet, the silence in the room amplified as she approached the bed, checking monitors and adjusting tubes. Then she turned to the family, her voice low and hesitant. "We're doing everything we can," she said, her gaze sweeping over the distraught faces. "But the bleeding is persistent. If we can't get it under control soon, She paused, the unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. There's a chance she might not make it. The words landed like a physical blow. Nock's stress intensified, and Pofnu's whimpers escalated into choked sobs. The monitor beeped on, mocking them with its relentless rhythm. The air in the room thickened, heavy with fear and despair. Voyd stared at Jaida's still face, the nurse's words echoing in his ears. A chance she might not make it. He saw their future together flicker and fade, the dreams they had shared dissolving like smoke. He saw and heard Jaida's infectious laugh, her bright smile, her unwavering spirit. Would he never see them again? Sway thought as the nurse left the room. Slowly, he looked up to the TV screen in the room, seeing the news discuss the fake image of the duo, with the caption saying they had vanished, with a manhunt underway. It then cut to Sankson on the screen, trying to say that the photo was faked. Even after all that had been revealed, he still fought to retain their innocence. Slowly looking down, Voyd gently caressed his necklace as burning rage began to engulf his soul. You doing alright, kiddo? Kot asked as Voyd just remained blank-eyed, reflecting back to his old life, back to a time where he gave his own faith, contemplation, faith that he would use to carry him forwards, faith he was now fully unsure on if he could rely on in that moment. You know, in my culture, if someone we cared for was gravely injured or in danger, we would always plead to the same tune time and time again. Voyd began to speak as he looked to his flip-side companion. Please, Matira. Oh, please, great Matterbirth. Spare us from the sorrow. He said, giving a nod to his odd curse word. 5 years ago, when I began on my own, a part of me actually thought that I was, in a way, answering prayers, ones that I had overheard during the fall of Salvaheim. It helped me pursue the duty of setting things right. Voyd stalled, taking a long, shaken breath. It was a big reason as to why I did what I did. What I do now, I was trying to help other people, save lives, make the fall right by my own self-entitled duties by a religion I barely even understood. Spark stuttered and rambled as he set his sights back to the floor. Just doing what I could. All the while truly believing my God had my back. Spark mumbled as he remained, shaking. Voyd, I don't know what you're getting at, but it's gonna be okay. Kot tried to reason as Voyd slowly looked back up, seeing Jaida's deteriorating state. You see, when I had heard the prayers of the people in my community, hell, the prayers from other worlds, here included, a part of me believed that in a way, it was somehow her voice, Lady Matira. I believed that maybe she was urging me on. Voyd continued, starting to shake even more. Now, after all that's happened since I thought I had answered the prayers, after defeating the glitches, the recklessness of the city, the monsters on the streets, Raymond's true colors, now Jaida possibly... Voyd stalled again, shaking his head and clutching his fist. I now realize that I was wrong. Voyd huffed, making everyone look at him with watery eyes. All I had ever seen and heard were people and innocence and pain, and all she gave in return was silence. To this, Kot slowly leaned forwards to stare Voyd down, unsure of what he was getting at. Kid, you're making me nervous. Are you trying to say that what you were doing and what you do now is some kind of mistake? He asked, as Voyd slowly stood up from his seat and approached Jaida's side. Gently, he rested the back of his hand upon her cheek, watching with shaking breath as her hair faintly pulsed from its fire shades, then back to her natural dark colors before the change happened. No, I was deluding myself. Voyd spoke, to which Nock mustered enough strength to speak.
Well, perhaps that's a good thing to realize. You're just kids. You should be doing this shit. Perhaps it's time for you both to finally stop.
To Nock's words, Voyd oddly enough cracked a smile and chuckled ever so gently as tears streamed down his cheeks. No, Nock. My delusions. It wasn't that. It was simply thinking Matira or any god had something to do with it. Had any purpose to do. I've come to realize that maybe it was always just me. Someone who just dug his hole too deep in his own morals. Voyd felt dismay as he looked at everyone, faith having fled from his eyes, and what even appeared to be morals. Jaida was the straw that seemed to have broke the camel's back. I'm forever just an eternal fighter, one forged by my own hands. Someone who has to do the necessary deeds for the betterment of others. And if that will be my eternity, then I'm gonna put true evil down today, until it doesn't get back up. Voyd stated, as a burning blue glow engulfed his eyes. Wait. You're not saying that you're gonna kill Raymond Notorio, are you? Kata asked, as fear engulfed his soul.
That would betray your code. Jaida's code. No killing, remember?
Pofnu boasted, as Voyd made his way towards the door. That's the thing, kiddo. Voyd replied, placing both hands upon it. It's not gonna be the blue bullet that's coming after Raymond. Voyd Novasun is. Not even God can stop that now. With that, and a final look at Jaida, Voyd gruffed and left the room, slamming the door and leaving an eerie silence within everyone. As the first crack of dawn appeared over the horizon, Voyd stood upon the rooftop of a northern half building, tightening the ties on his boot to his old blue bullet armor. His white scarf floated in the wind as a gentle rain poured down upon the city. In his sights, he eyed down the Notorious Industries building that began to flash and glow a neon green. As it did, the device from earlier began to arise from the roof, looking akin to a large space needle. All the chaos that had been focused upon from the photo was now seemed to be drawn to whatever was happening at the building. The large, city-screen camera views flashed to the machine. News choppers soared by, police sirens roared, all as the device containing the virus started to buzz on and off with blue power surges and electricity. Time was running thin, Voyd thought, as he looked down to his necklace, his mask visor scanning its details. I'm sorry, Jaida. This has gone too far. Voyd huffed as he glared back at the machine that was now causing city-wide panic. What are you apologizing for, my creator? Jed asked with a mask as Voyd took in a long breath. For breaking the one rule she asked me not to follow. He somberly answered with a crimson activation of his Nova Blades that burned hauntingly in the dim, rainy night. A deep wave of panic suddenly washed over the city. All eyes were now set upon the machine that began to rotate and shift with Voyd's stolen power. The news choppers and police choppers that had been searching the area for the duo now turned their sights upon the scene, unable to get too close, however, as the energy field could damage the vehicles. "Good morning, Aurora City," Raymond exclaimed with a wide grin as he exited his balcony with Latte Bate and brought forth a small Notorious Industries drone that activated with a camera. The grainy footage flickered on the drone screen, transferring the image upon every screen in Aurora like some twisted presentation. Everyone could see him now. Raymond, the true Raymond, his face a mask of twisted triumph. "Behold, my friends," he began, with a theatrical sweep of his hand accompanied the digital landscape. "The dawn of a new era. Thanks to both your fundings and belief, the Notorious Industries Reconstruction Act will be completed shortly." The air crackled with anticipation, not of excitement, but of impending doom. Notorio, the self-proclaimed architect of this new world order, spoke of evolution, of transcending humanity's limitations, while through the city, a burning shine of blue soared towards the building, catching people off in shock. They scoffed, they doubted, Notorio sneered, his gaze hardening. "But soon you will all understand. You will all be better." His vision, as he painted it, was one of a powerful, unified humanity, forged in the crucible of his design. With him, of course, at the helm. He envisioned a world where weakness was eradicated, potential unlocked, and he, Dr. Notorio, would be the benevolent shepherd guiding the human race towards his glorious future. The machine grew stronger, the energy intensifying, shifting from a cool blue to an unsettling lime green over and over. A power that threatened to fundamentally alter the very essence of humanity. The doctor paused. A flicker of something akin to regret, perhaps just calculated manipulation, briefly crossed his features. "My apologies for the embellishments," he said, the sarcasm dripping from his voice. "The little lies we all tell ourselves to justify our grand designs. But trust me," he continued, his tone regaining its magnetic fever. "This is for the best. You'll all understand soon." A manic chuckle escaped his lips. "Perhaps," he mused, more to himself than to the public. "Perhaps my little fake image shouldn't have made you all scare off the blue bullet and that irritating angel. They might have been able to stop me. But," he added with a chilling finality, "now they can't. It's too late." As the green energy surged around the machine, one thing became terrifyingly clear. Notorio's Restoration Act was about to begin. "Raymond!" a voice cried with so much rage. Before Notorio or Latte Bate could react, Voyd, with his wings deployed, blasted up to the roof of the building and punched the doctor so hard he went sprawling to the floor. Landing hard, Voyd immediately activated his arm cannon and shot Latte Bate down, causing him to suddenly spill with an excess amount of coffee.
"Oh dear, my servos!"
he cried while stumbling over the ledge to the smaller balcony below.
"Oh, great heavens!"
"Shut the machine down. Now!" Voyd angrily growled as he shimmered a deep shade of blue, his spark essence burning from the sheer rage billowing in his heart. "Bullet!" Raymond groaned as he slowly got up to his feet. "Shut it down before I make you!" Voyd bellowed as he raised his arm blades. The Mad Doctor merely smirked. "Sorry, boy. I'm afraid this ship has already sailed. There's nothing you can do now." Raymond deviously replied as he extended his arms, making Voyd watch as his green suit began to fold out and transform with a mix of nanotech and the shifting plates akin to his battle helmet's design. From these parts were created a large mechanized battlesuit, a disgusting mockery of the Spark's design. It was predominantly black steel and lime green, with a complex mechanical element. Multiple tubes and connectors were visible, particularly around the head and shoulders. Green, glowing circular elements were positioned around the chest area. A central, more elaborate lime highlighted the mechanical core that was located in the chest cavity, now carrying a smaller piece of Voyd's broken-off Nova Blade. The limbs were heavily armored and articulated, with joints and intricate details noticeable on the legs and arms. At last, Raymond's head was concealed over in a helmet, one that looked identical to D468's design. However, now with a black and green, pure lime visor covering the gnarly face of Raymond, finishing off his large and bulky battle body.
Witness the power!
The Mad Doctor screamed as he deployed two massive green Nova Blades from his hands, leaving Voyd to simply growl in anger. As the news choppers soared overhead, as the rain pelted his body, as the golden cracks of dawn appeared, Voyd knew this had to end, for only 10 minutes remained on the machine's now very apparent timer upon its control deck. The clang of energy echoed as Voyd and Notorio clashed their arm blades, sparks flying in the twilight. Fury blazed in Voyd's eyes, a stark contrast to the cold, calculating amusement in Notorio's, that was seen faintly behind his visor screen. This wasn't just about stopping a madman, it was about vengeance, and the countless lives lost, and about the girl lying in a hospital bed, fighting for her life. A life that may be stolen by lies. You monster! Voyd roared, his voice laced with grief and rage. You did this! You're responsible for all this death! All this suffering! You got her shot! Notorio simply laughed, a chilling sound that cut through the wind. Sentimental fool! Don't you see? I am the architect of a new world. One cleansed of weakness, forged in the fires of resilience. This city, this world, it will be stronger in my image. Your girlfriend will be reborn stronger too, and I will rule over all. The pressure between their blades intensified. Voyd poured his anger into each strike, his movements a whirlwind of deadly precision. He launched a volley of rapid punches, each blow carrying the force of a sledgehammer. Notorio, matching his speed, deflected with ease and fired back with equal power. He matched Voyd's moves with his own, a dance of destruction powered by shared abilities. It appeared that the doppelganger's design was implemented into the machine, its movements, its all. The battle surged around the base of the giant machine. Voyd hammered Notorio back with a stream of energy pulses from his round horns, forcing the scientist to scramble for cover. Then, Voyd activated his arm cannons, firing a barrage of energy blasts that caved chunks out of the concrete rooftop, leaving the Doctor to evade. You could have done so much good! Notorio! You could have done so much good! Voyd roared, his voice tight with betrayal. Replacing his cannons, runes shimmered the life around his fists, cracking with raw energy. I began to trust you. I saw the potential for true change. Now I see that even the most promising are capable of the most vile acts. Dr. Notorio, now a mirrored image of Voyd, simply chuckled, his eyes glinting with manic amusement. Naive, Bullet. Always so naive. Life isn't black and white. It's a swirling mess of gray. And thanks to your aid, this gray will become stronger. The battle ignited once again. Voyd launched forwards, a blur of motion. His arm cannons erupted a torrent of plasma fire. Notorio met the attack with his own energy blast, deflecting the projectiles with practiced ease. The air crackled with the discharge of clashing energies. Voyd unleashed a flurry of powerful punches, each blow a testament to his rage and disappointment. Notorio returned in kind, his movements precise and calculated, like a surgeon wielding deadly instruments. You think you're gonna be some kind of savior? Voyd snarled, summoning shimmering blades from his forearms. He lunged, aiming to disarm Notorio, to disable the machine. Notorio parried these attacks with a green Nova shield of solidified energy, deflecting and sending shockwaves through the air. He countered with a series of rapid-fire energy blasts, forcing Voyd to weave and dodge, his movements becoming progressively frantic. The fight continued to dance around the central machine, a terrifying ballet of destruction. Chunks of concrete were blasted away, exposing the building's skeletal framework. Sparks flew as energy blasts collided with the virus containment unit. The stakes couldn't be higher. Voyd, fueled by righteous fury, refused to relent. He hammered at Notorio with everything he had. He poured all of his anger, all of his broken faith into each strike. But Notorio, with his cold calculation and unwavering resolve, was a match for his desperate onslaught. As the fight wore on, Notorio began to gain the upper hand. He anticipated Voyd's moves, countered his attacks, and wore him down with relentless precision. He forced Voyd onto the defensive, pushing him closer and closer to the edge of the rooftop. Finally, with a swift maneuver, Notorio disarmed Voyd, knocking the runes from his grasp. He seized the opportunity and slammed his fist into the Spark's gut, sending him staggering backwards and crumbling to his knees. His armor had shattered. The punch had been so hard that even the visor on his mom's battle helmet broke away, revealing his bright blue eye in the open. Voyd gasped for air, clutching his stomach. Notorio stood over him, a look of twisted triumph on his face. On the roof of his hand, he held a green blade of sharpened energy, ready to deliver the final blow.
You fought well, Bullet,
he rasped.
but your rage has blinded you.
Raymond now raised the energy blade, fully ready to plunge it into Voyd's chest. But before the act could be done, a blur of blue shot out from behind the madman. A long, thick tongue snaked around Notorio's arm, its grip impossibly strong. With a savage yank, the tongue pulled Notorio backwards. Looking up, Voyd watched in shock as a woodland human frog, dawned in black, leapt up and upon the mech, proceeding to fire several sharp rounds of high-pressure water into the servo motors between the seams. Who are you? Voyd asked as the frog kicked off the stumbling mech and landed before the Spark. No time for introductions. I'll deal with shutting down whatever machine this is. You deal with the Mad Doctor, the frog stated before leaping to the control pad. Voyd wasn't sure on how to respond, how to react, as he turned to the mysterious figure who had saved his life. But she, whoever she was right. Looking back forwards, Voyd watched as Notorio stood, his mech glitching from the shots delivered into the suit's exposed mechanical innards.
What the? What did you do?
He cried as Voyd scowled with fury and deployed his axe. As the frog got to work, Voyd and Raymond charged. The Spark, fuel of malice, swung his axe, which was now glowing with a burning blue shine, pollinating, flaming with spark essence. With a swing, Notorio went in for a punch. With a slice, Voyd slashed the armored limb away, revealing the doctor's normal arm.
What?
Raymond shouted, as Voyd took another violent swing to his legs, shattering the mechanical extensions. Before Raymond knew what was fully happening, Voyd raised his arm back and punched out the capsule holding his Nova Blade shard, which powered the suit off. Snarling, Voyd watched as the large mech went from a glowing green to fully powering off. No! No! Raymond bellowed as Voyd with another slash cut the doctor's helmet off, grabbed him by the collar of his shirt, and threw him out to the roof. As this occurred, the frog pulled out the hard drive she had stolen from Jaida and plugged it into the device upon her arm. With it, a holographic screen appeared, showing the instructions to the machine's systems. With this, she began the shutdown procedure, as a grand form of violence erupted from the side. Throwing his axe aside, Voyd merely clenched his fist and got atop the man, preceding a savage beatdown. The Spark screamed, agony fueling his heart. He slammed fist after metal fist down upon Notorio's face. His goggles shattered, revealing the crazed eyes from behind. With each punch, the more his face became bruised. Blood started to spill as the doctor gasped, All the while, onlookers watching from the ANN chopper camera stared in shock to the sheer brutality of Voyd's actions. It was as if every spark warrior was surging through him, an inner rage that he had retained from a mother's secret life. Voyd didn't let up. He punched and punched, till Notorio was a bloody mess. The man tried to escape, but only stopped as the disappointing sound of his machine shutting down roared across the sky, with only 1 minute to spare on the timer. Pulling Notorio up by the collar, Voyd glared into his eyes, raised his free arm back, and deployed his Nova Blade, fully prepared to drive the weapon right through the man's heart. However, as Voyd was about to enact murder, to do the unthinkable, his mind, it drifted back to Jaida.
No killing, remember?
Her words rang in his head, like a sense of clarity washing over him.
We're heroes, Blue. And that's what heroes do.
Her voice continued.
The city needs us, Voyd. It needs us.
Conversations from months past came in and out like rapid bursts, in turn making Voyd slowly lower his weapon. From this, he shut his eyes, shook, and bellowed a scream. He wanted nothing more than to end Raymond's life, after all he had done. But the pull of Jaida's morals grounded him. The city, it needed light in its darkness. If he were to kill, he'd be no different than those who actively chose to harm. He would be no different than Notorio himself, was what Voyd told himself, as he at last dropped the man, leaving him to laugh.
Couldn't do it, huh?
The doctor asked, coughing up blood.
You know a genius like me will just find a way out of a cell, right, Bullet? You're gonna have to put me down to keep me down. Because I, and all those other snobs, will inevitably crawl our way back.
As Notorio said this, the frog from afar slowly began to approach, her stride graceful and silent.
Come on! Kill me! Show the world your true colors!
Notorio roared, sparking Voyd to shout back, while the whole thing was being broadcasted live to the entire city.
No!
Voyd boomed with a step back.
I want you dead, but I won't allow you to destroy who I've chosen to be! To destroy the one who the city needs!
Voyd howled as the frog pulled out a pair of cuffs from her noticeably packed utility belt, proceeding to latch them around Notorio's hands.
You will go to prison, and you will live the rest of your petty life in a cell, knowing that even if you escape, you will never succeed in what you strive for.
Voyd cried, tears streaming down his face.
Because I will protect the city, up to my last breath. Do you hear me? I will never stop guarding this community. I am the Blue Bullet, and you...
Voyd stalled as his mind burned with Jaida's image.
You will never, ever take that away from me.
With those words, Notorio at last passed out from the pain, leaving Voyd and the frog on their lonesome, while the sight of police choppers emerged in the distance, for the electric barrier was down. It was over. Voyd, through all of his hate, remembered that there were people that looked up to him. Winona, the South, even the police force in a way. If he had done the unthinkable, what difference would there be between him and those he put behind bars? He wasn't a murderer. He was Voyd Novason, once a spark warrior, now the guardian of Aurora City, the Blue Bullet. It takes a strong man to take a life. It takes an even stronger one to resist the pull of the trigger. The frog said with a nod and turn, her black suit glinting hypnotically in the golden cracked rainy morning light.
Who are you?
Why did you help me? Voyd asked, making the frog look over her shoulder. You can call me Dart Frog Bullet. Notorio had dirt on my family, so I came to help. Here. Dart Frog revealed as she tossed Voyd the hard drive. That little chip contains Raymond's secrets. I got what I needed out of it. Now give the rest to the authorities. There's enough information in there that could lock him away for life. Looking at the orange hard drive, Voyd nodded and then turned his sights back up to the frog. Thanks, he said, only to see that she had vanished. As that realization hit, Voyd too thought it was perhaps a good time to go. He had done what was needed to be done. The fluorescent lights of the hospital hallway hummed a monotonous tune as Voyd trudged along. His shoulders slumped with exhaustion. He clenched a bouquet of lilies, their sweet smell a stark contrast to the grim expression etched on his face. It had been a long, agonizing day thus far, each moment stretched out with worry. He was on his way back to Jaida's room. His knuckles were bruised from the fight, his body moving with a limp. Please be awake, he muttered. Please be awake. As he neared her door, a familiar figure rounded the corner. It was Coco, a bright, cheerful presence that usually brought a smile to Voyd's face. But today, her brow was furrowed with concern, and her hand clutched a brightly colored get-well-soon balloon. Voyd? Coco exclaimed, her voice a mix of relief and anxiety. Coco, what are you doing here? He asked, the fatigue evident in his voice. I just heard about Jaida a little bit ago. I came as soon as I could. She explained, glancing at the flowers in Voyd's hand. Flowers for her? She then asked, looking oddly tired as well. Yeah. I went out and got them a bit ago. Some lone gunman took a shot when we were walking. Voyd replied, gesturing to the lilies. I just wanted to bring her something hopeful, you know. Coco nodded, her eyes mirroring his own worry. A shared apprehension hung in the air as they reached for the door, each hesitant to face what might lie beyond. With a deep breath, Voyd pushed it open. The scene that greeted them was not what they expected. The sterile, silent room they had both come to dread was now filled with warmth and a gentle murmur of voices. Jaida. She was awake, propped up slightly in bed. She was surrounded by a small army of familiar faces. Nock, Kot, Pofnu, Winona, Ellie, Sankson, Sarv, Tucker, and even Theodore, all huddled at her bedside. The room felt less like a place of death, and now more like a haven. Voyd and Coco stood frozen in the doorway, stunned. Relief washed over them in a powerful wave, almost knocking them off their feet. The tension that had gripped them began to unravel. Jaida, her face pale but her eyes bright, noticed them standing in the doorway. A weak but genuine smile then stretched across her lips. Hey, Blue. She rasped, her voice barely a whisper. The sound of her tone, fragile but undeniably there, was the final thread that snapped. Voyd's eyes welled up with tears. Tears of relief, of joy, of overwhelming gratitude. He dropped the lilies and rushed to her side and knelt by her bed, burying his face in her hand. Happy tears streamed down his face as he gripped her fingers, feeling the warmth of her presence. The room, filled with the comforting faces of their friends, was a beacon of hope in the long, dark tunnel they had been entering. Jaida was alive, awake, and surrounded by love. And for Voyd, that was all that mattered. The following day, everyone sat in Voyd and Jaida's shared room, watching the living room TV that had been moved upstairs. Jaida, in a critical recovery state, lay bedridden with Voyd beside her. At her feet, Toby slept. Off to the side, sitting on beanbags and brought over cushions, was Winona, Ellie, and Coco, having decided to have a sleepover to keep their friend company during her recovery. Raymond Notorio, once thought to be the hero the city needed, has now been put under arrest, along with many employees under the Notorious Industries banner, the newslady said, as images showed off the events of the previous day. His machine, which was discovered to be some kind of energy disposal unit, has been seized by the North Trianica government for dismantle and study. As we had a few months back, we once again must give our thanks to the wrongfully judged vigilantes of the city, primarily the Blue Bullet, and a new face citizens are dubbing as the Dart Frog, for shutting the machine down and revealing the true scourge of our city. Under the covers, Jaida fist bumped Voyd, who huffed with a smile to her acknowledgement of a job well done. Yeesh. Talk about some actual news for once. Wonder how this will affect the city, Ellie said as she drank from a liter of soda. More restrictions, probably. Can't imagine it being anything good, Coco added as she scribbled doodles into a notebook. Yeah, thank God the bullet was there, Winona said with a lean forwards towards the screen, eyeing the image of the bullet down. Aw, does Winnie have a hero crush? Ellie jokingly asked with a loud burp following after. Nah, I just admire him, for all he does. I hope he knows just how much he means to us Southernsiders, him and the Angel. They're like hope taking physical form, Winona said as she side-glanced Voyd and faintly nodded with a smile. To this, the Spark did his best to try and ignore it, but he, along with Jaida, couldn't help but give a smile in return, ever so faintly. That Dart Frog seems interesting too. Wonder what her whole deal is. Voyd pondered aloud as he looked at Coco. Do you know any frogs that are in the black? He then asked, to which Coco giggled. Nah, whoever that is, they're a nutjob, the frog stated as she stood back up and stretched, being highlighted in baggy black shorts and a yellow tank top. I'm gonna go downstairs and get some more pizza. You guys want anything while I'm down there? The frog asked as she looked at the group. More soda. Mama demands it, Ellie asked as she swished a liter of pop in her hand. I'm good, Winona said as she now flipped through the channels. Water would be nice, Jaida then asked, her voice weak from recovery. Make it double, Voyd added with 2 fingers raised. Nodding with a turn and skip, Coco left the room. As she did, Voyd took notice of something peculiar. On her back side, where her neck ended and spine began, Voyd took note of an odd tattoo. It was inked in pure black, featuring what looked like a cracked circle with what seemed to be 2 serpents going around it, eating one another's tails. Before Voyd could examine it more, Coco had left, leaving him very, very curious.